The NFL did come out with a statement, and as we take a look at, I want to thank Judge Sue Robinson, the independent disciplinary officer, for her review, voluminous review, 3-day hearing. Pursuant to collective bargaining agreement, the NFL or the NFLPA on behalf of Watson may appeal the decision within 3 days. In light of her findings, League is reviewing Judge Robinson's imposition of the 6-game suspension and will make a determination of the next steps. With what she has rendered as her decision, is it going to be more difficult, not difficult at all, for Roger Goodell to increase the games that are suspended?
I think it's going to be more difficult because Judge Robinson focused on her duty as to being fair and consistent in the application of the discipline. She referred to the Deflategate opinion. That she made a determination of law as well as a determination of fact that in all prior occasions involving nonviolent conduct, the suspension previously rendered as to other players was markedly less than 6 games. So she made an effort to provide some appeal-proof protection to her determination, because these are factual findings she made. These are findings of law as to what her obligation is as the disciplinary officer. And I think she will have created a potential problem for the National Football League if Roger Goodell increases the discipline in the face of her finding that fairness and consistency of discipline is paramount. That's sort of a legal standard that comes right out of Deflategate. And I think the league would probably make the wise call to let the justice stand where she imposed it, because if they do two things, if they go above 6 games, then it raises the issue of fairness and consistency, and that's a due process issue, a legal concept that is recognized by federal judges. So that could run afoul of that pillar of the U.S. Constitution. But moreover, the closer that the league goes to imposing the full 1-year suspension on Deshaun Watson, which is what the league asked for in the first instance, if Roger Goodell, acting in his capacity as the so-called objective arbitrator, imposes that requested suspension, he will have essentially imposed his own brand of industrial justice, which would potentially run afoul of the Deflategate opinion that the U.S. Court of Appeals issued 6 years ago. So the NFL has to tread very carefully here, because Judge Robinson couched her decision not based upon her unfettered discretion, but upon the consistency and the approach taken by the league in all past cases involving non-violent offenses. And she called the league to account in its failure to properly define the conduct and to put the players on fair notice that non-violent alleged offenses or violations of the conduct policy could subject them to a minimum baseline suspension of 6 games. That baseline suspension only applies where there are violent offenses. That's not the case here. So from the league's vantage point, their vulnerability is the absence of putting the players on fair notice, the prior track record, the consistency with respect to other decisions, and the non-disciplining of league owners. She has created a potential higher hurdle for the NFL to overcome based upon the reasoning in her decision.